Hello, who are you and where are you from?
Hello, I'm Brad Dralle, and I'm originally from south side of Chicago, next to Leroy Brown. But right now, for the last 41 years, I've been blessed with living in the beautiful state of South Carolina, near Beaufort, South Carolina, on the island of Port Royal.
That's where we are right now.
Exactly.
Right off of Route, what?
Route 21.
Route 21. And not far from Paris Island and a little north of Savannah, south of Charleston. Real small area, real rural area, you'd say.
This is actually called Gray's Hill, this exact spot.
Ah, really?
It's a sandy knoll here.
Oh, very good. And what do you do?
Well, my background is in farming. I've got an agriculture degree and grew up through generations of farming since Adam and Eve. But since 1995, my career changed. And in 1998, I was blessed with a 70-year-old man that wanted to be relieved of his business. And it was the business I did not know that much about, but we all do, sewer and septic. And with that, it complemented the work as I know the structure of the soil, and it was just a God-given career path for me to go on. And I also in 2005 took up home building too, which is also working with the soil, making sure you get your firm foundation, not just build on sand. So with that said, that's what I do.
All right, and so by the way, what did you farm?
I farmed corn, soybeans, and wheat. And the last 5 years of my career, I took on vegetables.
And was that down here or up in Illinois?
That was here. I farmed 4,400 acres at the maximum, and then I grew 250 acres of vegetables.
All right, and then so has the climate changed much since you were a kid?
Yes, it's changed tremendously. It changes every day.
Okay, so it is changeable just like it always has been.
Yes, it's just like changing your underwear.
And
you never know what's in them.
And but there's no noticeable change about warmer summers or warmer winters or stronger storms. No noticeable change to you.
Well, the only noticeable change I see is the second full year that I lived here with my family. We had a light snowstorm. I shouldn't say a snowstorm because it was just a dusting. Everything stops here when just the surface gets dusted with snow. So that was a snowstorm for us here in the south. Nothing like in Chicago. But I lived through the storm of '67 in Chicago. I see my dad walk across a mile and a half of plowed field to get a bus load of children off of the school bus and wait the back of his two-wheel drive pickup, which was mostly all pickup trucks were back in '67, with 55 gallons of barrel water, put change on them, and bring them children home to a house where they had warm during that snowstorm. So we do get sporadically different snowstorms. The last one here we had was, and I say snowstorm because it's a snowstorm for here, but we actually had snow that lasted 3 days here. So it does seem like it's returning to colder climate here a little bit. When I first came here in 1981, you actually could use a fireplace. You would put wood on your front porch, chop the wood, and take it in and heat the house. And that was up until about 1990. Then it seemed to get warmer where you didn't need a fireplace hardly at all here. I mean, you could light one just for enjoyment, but as far as a necessity, it really wasn't, unless your home was without any other type of heat, naturally. But in 2018 was probably our last snowstorm. Now, I've been blessed with working with the earth and the ocean around it all the time, because this county is made up of approximately 66 different islands. And so most of the islands don't have a sewer system, so they have to be installed a septic system properly. And we have to know the elevation of the water table at all times, because you can't stick a septic system into a water table. It will not work. So,
Have you seen a rising of the sea levels?
I've seen a rising, and it's not, it's a rising and a changing, because with the different islands, you'll see it, the sand will be carried from one island to the next. And the worst part is when man tries to disturb it, they'll pump. We used to have we still do, but had the most beautiful beach in the world here. It was called Hunting Island. And when Hugo came here in 1989, a natural hurricane, it just grazed the side of us. It hit directly on Charleston. We had rains and winds, 60-some mile-an-hour winds all day long, which brought currents up onto Hunting Island Beach and destroyed all of their natural dunes. So the palm trees were open to the ocean. There was no dune protecting them. And then the state decided to pump sand from about a quarter mile out in the ocean back up onto the ocean. Well, naturally, when you dig into the ground, and over time, that slope just going to fall right back into that hole. And that's exactly what did. And the sand that did not fall back in the hole washed down to the next island and formed a bigger beach out there. So the beach has actually grown on some islands, and it's taken away on some islands. That's about it. There's maybe just a slight significant rise in the ocean. I live right on the water, so if the ocean rises, I would know exactly. So, and I drive over it every day, over to watch the tide. The tide in the ocean is controlled.
You're not having more floods?
Pardon?
You're not having more floods?
No, we did have, if we get the right kind of wind on a full moon, the ocean can be pulled onto shore. But we're not getting additional flooding because of more rain or something like that.
So on an everyday basis, how much do you think about the climate?
I think about it every single day because I've got to work in it and I got to dig in it every single day.
And sounds like are you optimistic or pessimistic about the future?
I'm optimistic.
And of climate, and why is that? And
because if you really study climate, it's just secular. It goes in patterns, okay? If you just took it like a week to week or day to day, there might be drastic changes, or even a year to year, or even a 50 years to 50 years, there's drastic changes. But if you look at it in hundreds of years, basically the same old stuff is going on.
Very good. Anything else you'd like to add?
I'd just like to welcome this nice journalist here to Beaufort and thank him for the opportunity to share. I'm here to help people. That's all I'm here for. Thank you and have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Hi. As often happens in these situations, I asked a further question after the interview, and something interesting came up. And so you had some concerns about electric cars and all the electricity, all the mining that has to be done to get the batteries made, and all the poles around here to supply the battery recharging.
Yes, that's a major concern because I've lived through it the last 2 years. They took one of the prettiest places in this nation along the coast here. They pounded electric poles, which have approximately 7 to 8 foot base, into Earth's core, have shattered our Earth core. And while they were doing that, we've been having earthquakes, which we normally don't do as much as we had in Columbia, South Carolina, up about 120 miles from here, which is on a hill. And we're fracturing our Earth core, destroying our scenic views, and on top of it, for electric cars, which you have to have approximately 500,000 pounds of ore to produce one of these batteries. Now, all that machinery took to drive, to dig up that ore for just one battery, can you imagine how many thousands and thousands? It's 50,000 pounds, 50 to 100,000 pounds of iron ore has to be dug up to produce one battery. Now, if we're digging up this type of material, that is using wasteful material. And what do we do with these batteries? The battery life, 2 to 3 years. This Christmas, my batteries in my decorations on my bushes, I had to replace them 3 times. What do I do with the batteries? I throw them and dispose of them. Now, what are we going to do with all these car batteries? There's going to be hundreds of millions of car batteries we have to dispose with every 2 to 3 years. We're going to be polluting our environment way more than we have. If we want to go to alternative, we need to go to hydrogen. It's made from natural sources. We don't have to mine it. We got water and we got air to produce hydrogen. Let's produce hydrogen cars. We don't have to put all these poles. Where do you think all these cars on the interstate are going to pull over every hour or 2 hours to plug their car in? I just read about a young couple. They went on a trip for 6 hours. Every hour since they had their heater on, their car would go dead. And it would take approximately as long to charge the car as they drove. So they would spend up to an hour and a half charging a car to drive another hour. I don't think the American public's going to put up with that. Just the same way as Mr. Henry Ford's wife, who had one of the first electric cars, is still sitting in Fairfield Village in Detroit in her garage. The idea never went over. Just as in 1972, the idea of everybody driving a real small compact car did not go over here. Everybody went out and bought Chevrolet Vegas or Ford Pinos. And guess what? In 1976, we had the biggest Buick Electras and Lincoln Continentals and Ford Galaxy you ever seen. It was a backlash. We will have a major backlash from this, but the bad part is we're destroying our environment while this is going on. That's about all I have to say for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.